this may be the biggest L that we have seen for both GMs that never actually manifested itself. Today we're going over onto a simple, very small tweet on Twitter talking about what Frank Seravalli mentioned on the recent edition of his podcast. Now, when they say podcast, I'm pretty sure they're referring to the Daily Faceoff Rundown show, but Frank Seravalli is one of the better insiders in the NHL world, and thus everything that he says pretty much has some weight to it. This is why when this tweet was made the other day, a lot of fans of both the Vancouver Canucks and the Pittsburgh Penguins got pretty pissed off. Don't get me wrong, this trade didn't happen, but it was one that, according to Frank, was discussed enough to the point that it was close to happening. And what we have on our hands when you lay everything out is such a huge L for both sides that for one side, there's a whole bunch of fans saying, okay, thank goodness this didn't happen, but man, what is our GM thinking about even entertaining that discussion? And on the other side, you have the fans of the opposite team saying, wait a minute, our GM is so dumb for not doing this type of a move. Why would you refuse? This is the tweet that we are talking about. Seravalli said on his podcast today that the Penguins and the Canucks were far enough down the road on a JT Miller trade that the Canucks were getting 2 first-round picks and trying to figure out where to flip Jason Zucker. Ron Hextall needs to be fired this second. And this is where that little dilemma comes in. You know how I always make the comment that if both teams' fan bases feel the same way about a move, then it's probably an equal move? Well, it appears that from the Penguins' point of view, or the Penguins' fans' point of view, I should say, this trade wasn't one that they wanted to make. Not because JT Miller is absolutely terrible or whatever, but mostly because flipping a pending UFA like Jason Zucker in a move like this where you're probably sacrificing a good chunk of your longer-term future and prospects for a guy in JT Miller who is already 30 and who is signed on for 7 more years after this one, it's probably not the best way to go about things for managing your team and its sort of longevity. You know, you have Letang, Malkin, Crosby. These guys are not going to be around forever. They're pretty much in the sunset of their careers at this point. And so sacrificing what would be parts of your rebuilding type of future, plus a heart and soul, very beloved guy in Jason Zucker, would probably not be the best move. And it's why I'm seeing a lot of Pens fans getting ticked off that this was even discussed. It's all in the comments, or not the comments, the replies on this initial tweet too. A lot of Penguins fans going out there lambasting Ron Hextall, Penguins GM, for talking about this and thinking about trading away this stuff for Miller. But you have yourselves the opposite fan base too in Vancouver that is also getting pissed off about this same thing. Hey, PATRIK, ALLVIN, why did you not do this? Why did you back out? 2 firsts and Jason Zucker for Miller, and you would have been able to trade Zucker away for something else? Like, dude, huge L on both sides. I cannot describe just how disappointing it is to see this come out as the result. JT Miller is a good hockey player, and I know that he's been fantastic as of the past few weeks and the past few games here. He's back to over a point per game after having such a down year to start off 22-23. He's had some major improvement time over the past few years, but when it comes to the Canucks and their desire to move out money and make things a little bit more flexible for them long-term, because Miller, as we said, 37 years old he's going to be when that contract expires. He's 30 right now. $8 million AAV ain't cheap, dude. And for a guy like Miller, who has been so wishy-washy and so fickle with how good he has been this season, it's not really the best guarantee, I feel, that he is going to be a consistent 80, 90, maybe even 100-point player as his career goes on. Who knows? Does he even get a 99-point season in Vancouver as that 7-year deal comes and goes? JT Miller is a talented hockey player, but for 7 years at $8 million with the inconsistency that he provides, there was so much opportunity for Vancouver to get something of value in return for him. And 2 firsts and Zucker as a baseline, that sounds like gold. The Penguins were sort of in a position where once Malkin, Letang, and Crosby are gone, you pretty much just have Miller and Gensel and You're going to have to try to rebuild your team on the fly with that type of a lineup. And with those 2 first-round picks that Pittsburgh has at their disposal, who's to say that these first-round picks are not going to be pretty all-right picks? Maybe even if they're 15th overall, getting 2 15th overall top prospects in 2023 and 2024, plus Jason Zucker, whom you could flip for more, in exchange for just JT Miller? Like, that sounds incredible. And I feel like for PATRIK ALLVIN to not make this type of a move, it kind of really defeats what a lot of this fan base was looking for, and what a lot of the management was saying when they said, yeah, we want to try to move out money, we want to still do this, and who knows if they were trying to go back on their word on that Miller contract, etc. But, like, I get it, it was kind of back then, right? Trade deadline was a few weeks ago, and had Miller been moved for something like 2 firsts and Jason Zucker, I think a lot of Canucks fans would have felt that was incredible. Sure, Penguins fans are kind of okay with it now because the trade wasn't made, but they would have been really pissed off had that trade gone down based off of the reaction I'm seeing here on social media. It's just kind of mind-boggling to me how, when the media guys said on all the insider shows and radio hits and everything back before the trade deadline that Vancouver was looking for 2 firsts out of JT Miller, like, I don't know, I didn't believe it when I heard it, because the trade deadline had a whole bunch of guys that got moved around, and, like, for example, Bo Horvat got Aatu Räty, a first, and Anthony Beauvillier. Pretty alright package, honestly a really good package when you lay everything out individually, and the Canucks flipped that first-round pick for Filip Hronek. But the thing is, Bo Horvat was scoring at like a 60-goal pace, and he was in a contract year. Miller's already locked up for the next 7 seasons after this one, and he's already 30, plus you have the fact that he was playing significantly worse than Horvat for most of 2022-2023, and so I was kind of thinking, okay, if you're trying to get 2 firsts, like, Bo got 2 first-round caliber assets, or 3, you could even say. Aatu Räty may be a first-round caliber guy who didn't go in the first round. There's a first-round pick from New York, and then there's Anthony Beauvillier, who was also a first-round pick all those years ago. Miller, do you think Miller's going to be able to get 2 first-round caliber assets, let alone 2 first-round picks in general? I just didn't really believe it based off of all the factors that we had been seeing up to that point. But if Jason Zucker and 2 firsts from Pittsburgh was already on the table, I feel like this was kind of a tragedy that the Canucks did not pull this move off. Like, had you traded Zucker away for something else, you trade Miller for 2 firsts and Zucker, and then you flip Zucker for maybe, like, I don't know, 2 seconds or something like that, getting a whole bunch of stuff like that for JT Miller would really have helped out this team, not just in terms of its long-term prospect pool, but it would have helped them out in the tank. It would have really helped them out in making their team so much worse in the next 2, 3, 4 months worth of play that all of a sudden Connor Bedard does not look too far out of reach. The Canucks right now have won so many games towards the end of March and everything that they're so far out of that Connor Bedard race that it's most likely not going to go to them once those lottery balls get placed into that little machine there. But no JT for a few weeks, a few months even, and that makes your team worse, and all of a sudden, boom, there you go. You are all of a sudden losing a bunch of games. And I know it's easy to say, hey, like, the team is not going to go out there and intentionally lose. The players are not going to go out there and intentionally lose, but that's kind of the point of tanking. You're not telling the players to lose. You are icing a lineup as an executive that has a lower odds of winning as many games than if you had not made those moves. If you trade JT away, your team gets worse. Plain and simple. Who knows, you might not even go on that huge winning streak towards the end of the year like the Canucks are on right now. So, I feel like this is a huge L on both sides. Just the fact that it was even discussed is ticking off the Pittsburgh fans, and also the fact that it was not done is ticking off Canucks fans. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this JT Miller thing, how apparently the Canucks and Penguins were so deep into the Miller talks that it was already laid out. 2 first-round picks, Jason Zucker. Vancouver was already talking to other teams as to where they could flip Zucker to next, but ultimately the trade was not made. So thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Also, by the way, there is a Canucks game later today. I'm not going to be able to watch this one either. There's some hockey going on at the community center, or not the community center, at one of the local leagues that I play in, and I'm very excited to play that, so I'm not going to be able to watch Vancouver versus, who the hell are they playing? I did not Google this beforehand, but all I knew was that I wouldn't be able to watch it. The Canucks are playing the Kraken. Oh boy, they're going to lose. I'm not going to watch it, and I'm not going to make a post-game video about it either, most likely, but thoughts in the comments about this entire Miller thing. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.